Hi, and welcome back to day 10 of National Diabetes Awareness Month. Every single day in the month of November, I will be doing a vlog about a various topic in diabetes. Today's topic is all about menstrual cycles. This topic did come from a request in my comments from one of my previous videos, so if there's any other things that you want to see, be sure to let me know in the comments so I can get to it in the next 20 days. I do have a few lined up that have been requested from comments over the past few days, and I will get to them as soon as I can. And as always, please be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate the support. So in this video, I'm going to talk about three things. First, what most of the research says about menstrual cycles and insulin resistance. I'm going to talk about my own experience with periods. And thirdly, I'm going to talk about adjustments that I make to my insulin and my diabetes management during certain times of the month. So most research does show that during the luteal phase, there is an increase in insulin resistance. And obviously, for people with type 1 diabetes, increased insulin resistance can lead to increased blood sugars if we don't adjust our insulin. One study that I really love is this one. I'll link it below too. I'm not going to go in depth about it, but it also shows that physical activity level also plays a role in that relative insulin resistance change during the luteal phase. I find this really interesting because it's what really mimics my own personal experience, which I'm going to talk about in a second. If I experience insulin resistance due to something in my menstrual cycle, it's going to be in that luteal phase. I've never noticed any insulin resistance or any changes to my insulin resistance during my actual period. For me, it's like the 3 to 4 days leading up to the start of my period. However, it is not always the same. I've definitely found that during months where I'm particularly active, for example, when I was training for a marathon or during the summer when I'm just outside and moving around all the time, I do find that there is less of an impact of insulin resistance, and sometimes I don't have any insulin resistance or that I notice leading up to my period. And then on the other hand, months that I'm more stressed, maybe I'm in the middle of my semester like I am right now, and I'm not getting as much activity as usual, I do find that my periods not only are heavier and hit me a little bit harder, but leading up to my period, I also notice that insulin resistance more. And when I say insulin resistance, in my own experience, it's not this like wild increase in insulin resistance, but it's really just like adding a few extra units onto my basal or background insulin that usually helps me manage it. So what do I do about it? When I was on the Omnipod Dash, I did about a 10 to 30% increase if I started to see that rise in insulin resistance. This typically was enough to cover for that insulin resistance personally, and I never noticed that I had to make any changes to my mealtime or correction ratios. If I was on shots and I noticed this insulin resistance, I may increase my background insulin, that long-lasting insulin, by a few units, maybe start with 1, see how that works, and then maybe bump it up to 2 if that 1 wasn't enough. And lastly, on the Omnipod 5, now I haven't had too many periods on the Omnipod 5 yet. I think I've had 2 or 3, and neither of those were particularly bad. Because the Omnipod 5 is connected with the Dexcom, I think it's probably covering it for me if there is any insulin resistance, because I haven't noticed anything leading up to my periods during this time. Again, that could be because I've had it during the summer months and I am a little bit more active during the summer months, or it could have been just because that automated mode is able to cover it for me. But regardless, if I did ever notice that my insulin resistance was increasing due to my period on the Omnipod 5 and it was too much for that automated mode to be able to keep up with, then I would probably just hop back into manual mode for a day or 2 or however long I needed, where I could do that increased basal. Now I say all of this knowing that I know people that have a lot worse periods than I do, that get really bad cramps, that have really high insulin resistance. So all I can do, as always, is talk about my own personal experience. If you have any questions, please drop them below. I can do my best to answer, but as always, this isn't medical advice. I'm not a doctor, just a girl with diabetes. Thank you so much for coming back to day 10. Please be sure to like and subscribe. Bye, and I'll see you tomorrow.